Hello, welcome back to the class series on Indian knowledge system. I'm still on module 1, covering the topics of the philosophy, character, scope, and importance of Indian traditional knowledge system, and the differences between traditional knowledge system, indigenous knowledge system, as well as the Western knowledge system in this class series. Okay, so the comparison of the three forms, the traditional Indian knowledge system, the Western knowledge system, as well as the indigenous knowledge system. In traditional Indian knowledge, it was through sources like the Vedas, Upanishads, Ayurveda, and yoga. And it's a blending spirituality with the philosophy, science, and it's a holistic practice. It is transmitted mainly through the oral traditions and the ancient texts. The nature is viewed as a sacred one, and it is interconnected with the life and the spirit. And the knowledge is meant to promote the spiritual growth, the social harmony, and sustainable living. Western knowledge, on the other hand, it developed through scientific revolutions, industrialization, and the modern research, mainly in Europe, then spread to other parts of the world. It is based on the empirical evidences, the experimental, and the critical analysis, and it is shared through the formal education and in a written research. The nature is seen as a resource to be studied or to be controlled, with a focus on the innovation and the technological progress. The indigenous knowledge, on the other part, it comes from small local communities around the world, shaped by the direct interaction with the nature. It is passed down through storytelling, rituals, and hands-on practices. The and it focuses on the survival, the environmental balances, and the cultural community. It is seeing nature as a living partner with the humans. Okay, now move on to the next topic, that is the character of Indian traditional knowledge. The Indian traditional knowledge is deeply, it is rooted in its spirituality, the holistic thinking, and the harmony with the nature. It combines the philosophical wisdom, the practical skills, the ethical values, and scientific understanding. So this knowledge, it has passed down through generations in the form of oral teaching, the scriptures like the Vedas, Upanishads, and common the community practices. It is community based. It is experience driven, and it closely tied to the daily life activities such as the agriculture, the healthcare, education, and art. Traditional knowledge in India, it values not just the material success, but also the spiritual upliftment, the social well-being, and environmental balance. Now, scope of Indian traditional knowledge. It mainly covers areas like the medicine, like Ayurveda, the Siddha or the Unani type of medicinal practices, agriculture or the organic farming, or natural pest control methods, the architecture like the Vastu Shastra, and the eco-friendly construction methods, astronomy and mathematics like the concept of zero, and the Bijagunita, the arithmetics, uh, and the art and literature, the classical dance, the music, epics like the Mahabharata and Ramayana, the environmental conservation like the water management systems, ethics and philosophy like the concept of dharma, karma, ahimsa. So this wide scope, it shows how the traditional knowledge, it integrates the science, art, health, environment, and it values the a single as a world view. Okay, now importance of Indian traditional knowledge. It is important because it promotes the living in balance with nature, offering eco-friendly solutions. It preserves the rich cultural heritage and values of Indian society. The traditional practices like Ayurveda, yoga, organic farming, and natural resource management, it complements the modern science and the technology. Biodiversity conservation is another one. It helps to protect the plant varieties, animal breeds, and the ecosystem through the traditional conservation methods. It strengthens the community bonds, the shared values, and the ethical living. Traditional knowledge, it's about weather patterns, the about the natural indicators, and the building techniques which helps the community to face the natural disaster effectively. So in today's world, the climate change or the resource depletion and the cultural erosion, the Indian traditional knowledge it offered timeless, and it is a tested solution which blend the wisdom, the sustainability, and human well-being. Now we'll see the philosophical system of traditional Indian traditional knowledge system. Philosophy in India it developed not just as a theoretical one, but it gives the about the meaning of liberation from the suffering or the called moksha. Mainly, there are two traditions. Which one is Astika and another one is Nastika. One is based on the Vedic things and other one is non-Vedic things. So Indian philosophical system it mainly combines the theoretical knowledge, which is called the jnana, and the practical application, which is the sadhana. And there are six major schools or darshanas. Six means shad darshanas are were evolved, and which will teach the life how to face the life in different ways. Okay, so these six schools, as per the Vedic terms, it is called as Sankhya school, Yoga school, Nyaya school, Vaisheshika school, Purva Mimamsa, as well as the Uttara Mimamsa, which is the Vedanta. First, we'll see one by one in shorter, with a short explanation. The Sankhya Darshana, it is one of the oldest and most important philosophy of India, and it was founded by Rishi Kapila, who was a great thinker. And the word Sankhya, which means counting or explaining by listening. So, because of this system, it explains the universe by carefully analyzing its parts, counting it. So, Sankhya says that there are two eternal realities. So, one is called the Purusha, the pure consciousness, means the soul or the observer, and the other one is Prakriti, which is the material nature or the matter energy or the mind or everything which changes. That is called Prakriti. So everything in the world it comes from interaction between these two. The Purusha and Prakriti, if we say the Purusha, it is the pure, unchanged awareness. It is unchanging, and it is just watches but does not act. Every living being has its own Purusha, that is soul. It has no desires. It will not do any action, and it is beyond the qualities. You cannot measure its quality. Whereas Prakriti, it is the material source of the entire universe, and it is acting, it is changing, but unconscious, not aware. Prakriti is made of three qualities or three gunas, mainly the Sattva guna, the Rajasa guna, and the Tamasa guna. Sattva guna means the light, the balanced, or the knowledgeable one, that is Sattva guna. Rajas guna, that is activity, passion. Rajas, we call it as they are more active, more passionate. And Tamasa guna, that is full blackness or darkness, laziness. These are Tamasa guna. So when Prakriti comes near the Purusha, it gets disturbed, and the universe starts to evolve. That the mind, the ego, body, everything else is getting created. So the main goal is liberation, moksha. becoming free from this suffering. So liberation happens when a person realizes that the self, the Purusha, is different from the body or mind and emotions. These are all the Prakriti. As long as Purusha thinks it is the body or mind, it feels pain and the bondage. So when it understands its true nature, it becomes free, becomes peaceful, and becomes unaffected. So the Sankhya school, it gives a logical and a clear way to understand what the world is, why the suffering it happens, why suffering comes, and how to become free from this suffering. So it has strongly influenced the other Indian philosophies like the yoga school or the Vedanta school. So this is about the first one, that is Sankhya school. Now we'll see the remaining what type of teaching we will get in the other remaining five. The second one, that is yoga darshana. Yoga darshana, it teaches how to reach this spiritual freedom, the moksha, through a disciplined practice, a method of doing. Maharshi Patanjali, he organized it, its idea in his book called the Yoga Sutra, with around 196 short sayings. So like Sankhya school, the yoga school, it also believes in two realities, that is Purusha, which is the pure consciousness, and Prakriti, which is the nature or matter. So while Sankhya, it explains the theory, the yoga, it gives a very clear path to experience the liberation by controlling the mind. So the goal of the yoga school is to quiet the mind and unite the individual soul. Individual soul means Jivatman, with the Supreme Soul. Supreme Soul is Paramatman. So Patanjali gives a step-by-step method called Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. And first one, that is the Ashtanga Yoga, is Yama, the Niyama, Asanas, Pranayama, Pratyartha, Dharana, the Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So these are the 8 things. So we'll see one by one. So first one, Yama, which is the moral rule. It will teach how to behave with others. There are 5 rules, like Ahimsa, non-violence; Satya, that is truthfulness; Asteya, means no stealing; Brahmacharya, that is self-controlling; Aparigraha, that is no greed. Whereas the Niyama, the second one, which is a personal rule, means how to manage ourselves or yourself. It tells about 5 habits. Sauchada means cleanliness; Santosha, that is the contentment; Tapas, that is self-discipline; Swadhyaya, that is study of the sacred books or studying ourselves, Swadhyaya; and Ishvara Panidhana, that is surrender to God. Third one, that is Asanas, that is body postures, the physical exercise like the yoga pose to keep the body healthy and steady for meditation. Pranayama means breath control, the special breathing techniques to calm the mind and control the life, the energy, the prana. Fifth one, that is pratyahara, that is sense withdrawal, turning the mind inwards by withdrawing the attention from senses like sounds, like the sight or feelings. Then sixth one, that is dharana, that is the concentration, that is focusing the mind steadily on one object or to one thought or to one mantra, concentrating. Dhyana, that is meditation, that is effortless and continuous meditation without distraction, no focus, no force, by it happens by itself after dharana. It becomes dhyana. Then comes the samadhi. Samadhi means it is a pure absorption, the final stage of where the ego completely disappears and the soul it merges with the pure consciousness of feeling deep peace and the liberation. So the yoga school, like the Sankhya school, teaches the same thing, like Purusha and Prakriti, but yoga school it shows a practical path to the right living, to deep meditation, leading finally to liberation and the bliss. Then the Nyaya Darshana is mainly it deals with the logic. Nyaya means logic actually, or reasoning, and the study of knowledge. Study of knowledge we call it as epistemology. So it was founded by Rishi Gautama, or the Akshapada Gautama, who wrote the Nyaya Sutra, which was around 2nd century BC. And the Nyaya school it focuses on one important question, that how can we know something is true or not. It teaches the right knowledge, that is prana only, prama, the right knowledge, and it is how it is necessary for the freedom, that is moksha. It teaches about ignorance causes suffering. It teaches that to be free we must remove wrong ideas and gain correct understanding using proper methods. The sources of true knowledge, the pramanas, it says that Nyaya school says that to get a correct knowledge, perception needed, that is pratyaksha, knowing through the direct senses, for example seeing a fire or hearing a sound, that is pratyaksha. Or it says that we need to anumana means inference, we have to logically guess based on the science. Example, if we see a smoke on a hill, we have to guess or understand that there must be fire. Or upamana means comparing with others, things which is known to us. So that is the way of learning. For example, if you want to learn what about a wild ox, we can compare it with a cow and we can learn comparing with the cow, because cow we know, a non-animal to us than a wild ox. Okay, then comes the shabda, that is the verbal or the testimony, trusting a reliable source like a teacher or an expert who knows the exactly what is that. So learning from that, that is called the shabda. So these four are the main tools of Nyaya school of teaching, which uses to check what is true and what is false. The Nyaya school is not about arguing or winning debates. It aims to remove the ignorance by careful thinking, in order to gain a true knowledge and ending the suffering and reach a spiritual liberation, that is again the moksha. So the Nyaya school it focus on clear thinking, logical reasoning, and a careful questioning, which made it highly respected. So it was also very important in defending the Vedic knowledge and debating other philosophies like the Buddhism and Jainism. Nyaya Darshana teaches that clear thinking and true knowledge it leads to a freedom from suffering, and it will help achieving the spiritual liberation. Vaisheshika Darshana. Vaisheshika Darshana is an important school of the Indian philosophy. It was started by the Rishi Kanada, also called as Luca. Okay, it mainly deals with the metaphysics, that is the study of what reality is. It deals with the Vaisheshika school deals with the logic. It deals with the natural science. So Vaisheshika is is famous for teaching the atomism, atomism, atomism. So the idea is that everything in the universe is made of very tiny individual atoms, which is called anu. Okay, so the name Vaisheshika, it comes from the word Vishesha, meaning particularly or some distinction, because this system it focuses on classifying and distinguishing different things in the world. Vaisheshika says that to achieve the liberation or the moksha, to get becoming moksha, we must know the difference between the Atman, the eternal life, and the changing physical world. We have to ignore about the reality which is causing the suffering. We have to right understand the world and the soul, which will eventually lead us to freedom. So the atomic theory given by the Canada was it explains that the universe it is made up of eternal and invisible atoms. So these atoms it combines in different ways to form everything we see. So there are four types of atoms like the earth or water, fire, air. So atoms in different qualities like color, taste, and touch. So Vaisheshika atomism is both material and spiritual, not just physical like in modern science. So that time only the Vaisheshika itself, the people thought about the particle, atomic size particle, and its combination, different forms of energy. All those things were taught. Now the categories of reality, the padarthas, it explains seven basic categories like the dravya, that is substance, which is the basic things that have the qualities and actions like the earth, water, mind, soul. These are dravya. Then quality, the gunas, the properties like the color or taste, the number, weight. These are all quality or gunas. Then action, the karma, the movements or the activities which causes the change, that is called karma. Samanya, that is generality, common qualities shared by many things like the uh, potness of all pots. Vaisheshika, that is particularity. It is unique nature that makes one atom or soul different from another. Then inherence, the samavaya. It's the natural bond between two things like the redness of a rose being part of the rose. So inherent property. Then the absence, abhava. So the recognition of a non-existence of something, like saying that there is no pot there or there is no pot here. That is abhava, absence. So these categories which help to understand both the physical objects and the abstract ideas. The methods like Nyaya or Vaisheshika, like Nyaya, this Vaisheshika, it believes right knowledge leads to moksha or liberation. But Nyaya focuses more on logic and debate. Vaisheshika, it focuses on analyzing and categorizing the real world. So both schools, it supports complete each other. But the unique features of Vaisheshika is one of the first system. It is one of the first system which talk about the physical science in a systematic way. It focuses on the individual difference and the variety of the world. Instead of relying mainly on the meditation or devotion, it stresses careful observation, stresses on careful observation and reasoning to understand the reality and reach the spiritual freedom. So Vaisheshika Darshana or Vaisheshika school, it teaches the understanding uh, the structure of the world and the nature of the soul through observations and analysis, which leads to the freedom from suffering and the spiritual liberation. Then Purva Mimamsa, often called as Mimamsa, just Mimamsa. It was developed by Rishi Jamin. The word Mimamsa, it means deep reflection or called careful study. So, this school, it mainly focuses on understanding and interpreting the Vedas, especially the part of Veda in which the rituals, actions, or the sacrifice, the duties, all called as a karma kanda. Purva Mimamsa, it mainly it cares about the dharma, which means the right way to act. It is taught by the Vedas, the right way to act. Unlike other school, which focuses on meditation or deep philosophy, the Mimamsa, it teaches that doing rituals properly is itself spiritually powerful. That means performing the rituals in correct way and faithfully, it will help one to earn the punya. That means the spiritual merit, which leads to prosperity or happiness. Means when we get punya, it automatically will get the prosperity, happiness, and the spiritual progress. It says that the rituals it work by themselves. They don't depend on believing a personal God. So the power of rituals comes from their connections to the eternal Vedas, not from the divine blessings. So the key concepts in Purva Mimamsa, it says Apurva, which is a special unseen power created when someone performs a ritual. So this Apurva, it brings results either in this life or in the future life, which they believe. So the Vedic authority means the Vedas are eternal. They are authorless, created by no human, and are perfect. This is the what Mimamsa teaches. So they are highest guide for knowing what dharma is, and they said dharma as a duty. Dharma means following a correct ritual action. You do your dharma, you will get your benefit. Like that, it teaches. So Mimamsa, it focuses on figuring out from the Vedas what must be done, what is required, or what can be done, and what must not be done, that is prohibited. So it gives what is required, what is optional, and what is prohibited. So Purva Mimamsa, it mainly studies the Brahmana and Samhita part of the Veda. What is Brahmana and what is Samhita, that I have already explained in my previous videos. Okay, so these sections, it explains how to sacrifice or how to do the yajnas, how to give the vows, that is the vratas, and the others sacred acts. So Mimamsa also teaches rules for interpreting the Vedas, how to solve contradictions, how to understand Vedic instructions properly, or how to group different types of rituals and know their results. The Mimamsa or the Purva Mimamsa, it accepts the soul as the Atman and the afterlife, but it does not focus as much on the. It does not focus on God or Ishvara either. It teaches that rituals are the powerful on their own because of the eternal world and the structure of Vedas. So the main idea is uh, doing one duty as per the Veda is enough to live a good, meaningful, and a spiritual uplifted life. Do your duty. you will get a benefit. That is what the Purva Mimamsa mainly focusing, and it greatly shaped the Hindu ritual traditions. It laid the foundation for the orthopraxy, which is giving importance to the right actions and the right practices, and it influenced the Vedanta school also. Okay, Vedanta school is yet to come. Okay, so Vedanta is something called the Uttara Mimamsa, meaning the later Mimamsa. Okay, so the famous philosophers like the Kumarila Bhatta and the Prabhakara, they developed this school, the Vedanta school further, especially on topics like the language, the ritual theory, or the knowledge. So Purva Mimamsa it teaches that performing rituals correctly based on the eternal Veda is the true path to dharma and the spiritual success. So, without depending heavily on beliefs in God or the deep metaphysics ideas, we can reach the moksha. Now, the Vedanta or the Uttara Mimamsa, the Vedanta school or the Uttara Mimamsa school is the last and the final part of the Vedic philosophy, and it is very different from the Purva Mimamsa, which focuses on the ritual actions. The Vedanta is all about understanding the true nature of reality, that is, understanding what is the soul, that is, Atman, and understanding how to get liberated, moksha, how to get moksha. So, the word Vedanta means the end of Vedas, Veda Anta. Okay, so end of the Veda, and it refers to the Upanishads, and that is the final part of the Vedas and the ultimate philosophical teaching of the Vedas. So the core idea of Vedanta is Brahmajnana, that is knowledge of Brahman, which is the supreme or the unchanging reality. So this knowledge, it helps one understand the true nature of everything. The Vedanta, it is based on three main texts, books, that is Upanishads, which is the philosophical teaching of revelation about the reality. Then Bhagavad Gita, a dialogue between the Krishna and Arjuna about the duties and the liberation, and the Brahma Sutra, the logical explanation which connects the ideas from the Upanishad. There are three main schools of different schools of Vedanta. Uh, each sub school has its own view about the reality, the soul, as well as the path to liberation. The Vedanta, it focuses on the spiritual knowledge, understanding the true reality, that is the Brahman, as it is taught in the Upanishad or Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutra. It explores the soul and the liberation, offering different paths based on different interpretation of these texts. The first one is the Dvaita Vedanta. It was given by the Madhavacharya. Dvaita Vedanta, it was founded in 13th century, and it teaches the idea of dualism. That means two: God in the form of Vishnu or Narayana, and the individual soul, that is Jivatma. And they are separated and distinct. That is what the Dvaita Vedanta tells. They are separate. God and soul, they are separate. And in this philosophy, the God and the soul are never the same. And they are two different real entities. Moksha is not about becoming one with the God. Instead, it is meaning having the eternal bliss by doing a service to the God and being close to Him, like a devotee who is devoted and is very close to their God. Bhakti, the devotion, is the main way to reach liberation, and devotion to God is the path to freedom. And the world is real, unlike some philosophies which says that the world is just an illusion or Maya. But Dvaita Vedanta believes that world is real and not an illusion, and the soul depends on the God's grace for liberation, and the soul and the God are connected through grace, or dependent. They are dependent. The five eternal differences, or the Pancha Veda differences, are God and soul are different. God and matter are different. Soul and soul are different. Soul and matter are different. Matter and matter are different. So five are the Pancha Veda. The next one, that is okay. I was not reached the slide. Okay, the Dvaita Vedanta, and now it is Vishishta Dvaita Vedanta. Vishishta Dvaita Vedanta, it was given by Ramanuja. Ramanuja was a philosopher from the 11th century. He developed this concept of and qualified non-dualism. This philosophy says that God, or the Brahman, is one but has special qualities, and these qualities are the universe and the soul. So God, soul, and the world are real and they are connected. The core ideas of Vishishta Dvaita Vedanta is that Brahman, that is God, is personal and full of compassion and love. The soul and the world are like the body of God. God has got two parts. One is soul and one is world. Soul and world. So they depend on the God, but they are still real and separate. So the Bhakti Yoga, or the devotional surrender to God, is the way to reach the liberation. So in liberation, the soul, it keeps its individuality but lives in eternal union and service to God. Usually the God name given as Vishnu. So Vishishta Vedanta school, it teaches that God and soul and the world are real and they are connected. The the soul can reach liberation through devotion to God while still keeping its individuality in internal service to the God. Next, the Advaita Vedanta. Shankaracharya, the philosopher from the 8th century, he explained Advaita Vedanta, which is the philosophy of non-dualism, absolute non-dualism. And this philosophy, it says that only Brahman, God, is real, and everything else, like the world or the individual soul, names, the forms, everything, all those are illusion, or it is called Maya. So the core ideas of Advaita Vedanta says that the individual self, or the Atman, and the Brahman, the God, are the same. It says that the Advaita, or ignorance itself is Advaita. Of this truth, it causes the bondage and suffering. Sorry, I said wrongly. The ignorance, that is avidya, uh, means vidya is not there. That is called avidya of this truth, that causes the bondage and suffering. The liberation, the moksha, is achieved by gaining a self knowledge, that is jnana, realizing that we are Brahman, and the world, it seems really it seems real only from our everyday views, but in the ultimate truth, that is Paramarthika Satya, that only Brahman exists. So Advaita Vedanta, it teaches that Brahman is the only true reality and everything else is an illusion. To be free from suffering, one must realize that the self, Atman, is the same as Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi, that's what it says. Okay, now non-Vedic philosophy. Still now what we see in this, the Veda teaching and its philosophy schools. Now there are non-Vedic philosophical teaching which is called the Nastika, Astika, and now this is Nastika. Okay, so first one, that is the Jain school of philosophy or Jaina school of philosophy, which is a non-Vedic system, as I said, and it is outside the teaching of Vedas, and it was systemized by the Mahavira, who was the spiritual teacher of 24th Tirthankara. However, its roots go back earlier, especially to the 23rd Tirthankara. Jainism has a unique philosophy focusing on self-effort, moral purity, and ahimsa, the non-violence. So the main idea from Jainism is that every soul or every jiva is eternal, every jiva is pure, but it becomes trapped in karma, the result of action, because of the ignorance and the attachment. So the aim in Jainism is to free the soul from the cycle of birth and death, which is called samsara, and achieve a moksha, which is a state of pure eternal happiness and consciousness. That means if you are trapped in a cycle of getting birth and dying again, rebirth, die, that is the samsara. Come out of from that is called moksha as per the Jain concept. And the key concepts are, for to get the moksha, one has to be non-violence, ahimsa. He has to the most important principle in Jainism is ahimsa, which means non-violence, and not just physically but also thoughts and speech. So Jain monks, they are very careful not to harm any living being, even the small insect. So when they walk, we might have observed. So this idea has also influenced the Indian society, including the leaders like Gandhi. Okay, now the jiva or soul and the ajiva, that is non-soul. The everything being has a soul or jiva, which is eternal and full of knowledge or bliss and power. Whereas ajiva, it refers to a non-living thing like the matter or time, space, etc. And the soul becomes trapped by the material practices called the karma, which hides its pure nature. And Jainism, the karma is seen as the material substance which attaches to the soul due to the negative emotions like the anger, greed, pride, and the deceit. So liberation happens when all these karma is removed through the rightful actions and the spiritual practices. So the three jewels or the Ratnatraya to reach the moksha are the right faith called the Samyak Darshana, the right knowledge called the Samyak Jnana, right conduct, the Samyak Charita, Samyak Charitra. Okay, so these are the steps for the spiritual progress which must be followed together. Jains, especially the monks, they practice the strict self-discipline, such as the fasting, silence, non-possession. So even the ordinary Jains, they also follow moral rules like the truthfulness, non-stealing, and living simply. Jain teaches that truth is complex and can be seen from many different angles. Anekantavada, which says that reality can be understood in different ways, and the Sadhyavada, it uses the word syat, meaning maybe, or from certain point of view, in order to show this. So this helps to promote humanity and tolerance for other people's ideas. Now we'll move to the Buddha, Buddhist school of philosophy. The Buddhist school of philosophy was founded by the Gautam Buddha, King Ashoka became Buddha, and it also called the Siddhartha Gautama. Or the Buddhism started as a movement which that reject the Vedas and the caste systems, the rituals. Instead, it focuses on the personal experiences, living ethically, and meditation to find the liberation. So Buddhism, it teaches about the cause of suffering and how to end it through the practical steps. The core teachings or the four noble truths are dukkha, samudaya, nirodha, and magga. Dukkha, that is life, involves suffering, dissatisfaction, and change. Samudaya, its suffering is caused by the craving or desire. Nirodha, that is suffering can end if we stop craving. And magga, there is a path to end suffering called the eightfold path. So the eightfold path, which as per the Buddha concept, that is a right view, understanding the four noble truths, a right intention, want to improve the ethical as well as the mentality, right speech, that is speak truthfully and speak kindly, right actions, act ethically and avoid harming others, right livelihood, make a living without causing harm, right effort, that is focus on positive thoughts and remove the bad ones, right mindfulness, that is be aware of your body, be aware of your feelings, mind, and thoughts, right concentration, practice the deep meditation. There are, it says that annata or the anatta, that is non-self. Another means that there is no permanent self, and unlike other religions like Hinduism and Jainism, which believes in an unchanging soul, Buddhism teaches that what we call the self is just a mix of changing things like the body, feeling, or thoughts. So this is called the five aggregates, uh, which are the form, body, the sensation, that is feeling, perception, how we understand, mental formations, that is the thoughts, and the consciousness, awareness are the five aggregates. Other concepts like anicca, that is everything changes, holding on things as permanent causes the suffering. Yes, you should not hold anything permanent. Dukkha, suffering is not just pain but the overall unsatisfactory nature of life. Karma and rebirth, our actions leads to consequences, which includes the rebirth. But unlike the idea of an eternal soul, the rebirth happens due to our clinging and ignorance, not a permanent self. And the nirvana, the ultimate goal is to reach nirvana concept, which means ending suffering, ending the desire and the cycle of rebirth. Now, the branches of Buddhism also I would like to highlight here. There are branches like Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Okay. Now the last topic, that is Charvaka. Charvaka school of philosophy or Lokayata. It is again the Nastika teachings. Unlike most other Indian philosophies, which is based on the spiritual ideas, the Charvaka it focuses on materialism and what we can directly experience through our senses. It was very different view compared to the ideas of karma, afterlife, and liberation in Hinduism or Buddhism and or even in Jainism. And the core teaching of Charvaka school it is denial of the afterlife and the liberation. Charvaka philosophy rejects the idea of life after death, and it doesn't believe the karma, the cause and effect, and as well as the moksha, liberation also. So they believe that when a person dies, everything about them ends, and there is no soul which continues after death. So this view is different from other philosophies that believes in the soul or soul's journey after the death with the rebirth and the eventual liberation, that is moksha. Charvaka philosophers they say that everything in the world is made up of four elements, that is earth, water, fire, and air. These elements they create all physical things, and there is no world beyond this material one. So they believe the only true source of knowledge is what we can directly perceive with our senses, like the sight or hearing, touch, taste, smell. So they reject, Charvaka school reject the ideas from intuition, the revelation or the scriptures, as they are not directly observable. So Charvaka thinkers they don't trust reasoning or they don't trust religious texts because they are not based on what can physically experience. The Charvaka school focuses on enjoying life and living sensibly. Since they don't believe in the afterlife, their main goal is to seek happiness and pleasure in the presence or present world. So they encourage people to enjoy the life, pleasure like food, physical comfortness, without worrying about the moral consequences. Happiness and the material enjoyment are the that are seen as the most important goal in the life. So Charvaka thinkers they reject the religious rituals and the superstitions, seeing practices like the sacrifices and offering as an illegal one or illogical one, not illegal. So they also reject the belief in God and divine powers, which and they say that gods are just a product of a human imagination, and religions and rituals, they, according to the Charvaka school, say that they are for priests and rulers to control the people. So the key concept of this Charvaka school is that pratyaksha, that is perception. The only true way to know something is by directly perceiving it through our senses, our feeling, our way of doing it. Anything beyond that is unreliable. Unreliable. Don't trust anything unless until you do it. One the materialism, the belief that everything is made up of matter, and that the consciousness or the mind is simply a result of the material process. Charvaka philosophers were doubtful of ideas that could not be directly proven or seen, like the soul, karma, afterlife. They are the idea that the best way to live is to seek pleasure, enjoy life because life is short and ends with death. That's about the Charvaka school. Okay, so Buddha already explained. That's about the philosophies which are there in the Indian knowledge system. Explained the Vedic as well as the non-Vedic, that is Astic as well as non-Astic. Nastic, both are explained with the help of study material I have, because I have not so expert in these things, but I wanted to present it. to my audience. Hope it was useful. Some mistake happened in between. Um, Mispronounced some of the words. I didn't get the exact pronunciation of that, but I will be improving and doing it better. So once again, thank you for being a viewer, watching my video, sharing it to others, subscribing it, and liking the videos and supporting me. Thank you very much.